of my quarterbacks on my fantasy football team are out. What's a girl to do? Hi guys, Lauren Shehadi alongside senior fantasy football writer Jamey Eisenberg. Jamey, I'm sure a lot of our viewers are having this same problem. A lot of guys out on bye, out on injuries. What do they do? Who do they pick up?
Well, there are some guys to pick up when you're missing Tony Romo, Carson Palmer, Matt Hasselbeck, and the quarterbacks on a bye. Who would have thought Kyle Orton would be playing
Who would have thought?
Great, unreal. But you look at J.T. O'Sullivan, Matt Castle, Jason Campbell, Lauren's favorite quarterback, Jason Campbell. All three guys have good matchups, or at least are playing well at this point. You have Campbell against Detroit, had a great game against them last year, almost 250 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. O'Sullivan faced Seattle in week 2, 300 yards passing and a touchdown. And then Matt Castle, he finally realized if you get Randy Moss and Wes Welker involved,
good things happen.
Good things happen. So he's got a good matchup this week also against the St. Louis defense that's playing better, but still Castle at home, Rams outdoors. These are three guys you could pick up and maybe start if you're missing some of these other quarterbacks, along with some of the other guys we have here on our start list.
Let's start talking about them. You know, a friend emailed me. He said, I have Matt Schaub and I also have Donovan McNabb. Who do I start? Well, Matt Schaub and Andre Johnson clicking. He's really picking apart defenses at this point.
Yeah, I think, you look at Andre Johnson and the way he's playing. That's a big part, Lauren, of why Matt Schaub is finally starting to play well. These are the expectations we had for Schaub all along. But I think finally, it took the illness and Sage Rosenfels nearly beating the Colts, I think, to really inspire Schaub to sort of take the next step in his career to the next level in terms of fantasy production. But he's getting Johnson involved. Owen Daniels, 2 touchdowns last week. He's emerging as a top 5 fantasy tight end. You have Kevin Walter really playing well also. So the Texans offense with Steve Slayton, Amon Green, they're all clicking right now. And another good matchup against the Cincinnati defense that, as we know, not exactly the greatest.
You were mentioning before, who would have thought that Kyle Orton would have been playing this well? Well, who would have thought that Eli Manning would have thrown 3 picks just 2 weeks ago on that Monday night game? No picks last week, but just 161 yards, his lowest of the season.
Yeah, but not only that, the chest injury, which may or may not still be a problem, that could factor into this as well. But I think you have Eli Manning, coming into this game. He's facing a Pittsburgh defense that right now is just not letting a lot of passing yards get by them. They've only allowed 2 passers to throw for over 200 yards, and the best game that they've had against them was Matt Schaub with 202 yards. So Eli Manning comes into this game. It's a situation where you have to start him based on sort of what you have in store at quarterback, because as we talked about with these other guys out, but you really have to lower your expectations with Manning. I think you'll see him in that 180 to 200 yard range. He's not going to get much more than that. Probably 1 touchdown, maybe an interception or 2. The good thing for him is that Plaxico Burress is going back to Pittsburgh for the first time. But, Lauren, he's also dealing with an injury himself and Burress, arguing with the coaches. So the passing game is a little bit in flux. This could be a very low-scoring game for both teams. And I think you sit Eli unless you don't have a better option on your bench.
Well, speaking of injuries, we know Willis McGahee is dealing with an injury, but he's dealing well with it, and we all know what he's capable of doing when he's healthy against that Raiders defense. You think he's going to do well?
Oh, Lauren, I think you look at Willis McGahee. Finally, Willis McGahee decided to play some football, and he did it against the Dolphins defense. The Dolphins came into that game playing really well against the run, and then Jason Ferguson, their star nose tackle, got hurt, and McGahee finally realized, hey, I'm still a great player in this league, and I could go out and put up some big yards. And he comes into this week now. You mentioned he's banged up. He's going to play. Don't have any worry about that knee problem. He had it going into the Dolphins game as well, and we saw what happened. He's catching the ball out of the backfield. The best thing about McGahee is his offensive coordinator, Cam Cameron, has a good history with running backs. LaDainian Tomlinson, Ronnie Brown, both guys that he's sort of tutored or mentored, however you want to phrase it, done a good job with them in his career. And then facing a Raiders defense that just gave up over 150 yards rushing to Thomas Jones, a touchdown to Leon Washington. They're averaging over 130 yards allowed on the ground with 9 touchdowns. I think McGahee has an opportunity here to sort of say, sorry, LaRon McClain, sorry, Ray Rice, it's my job, I'm going to run well. And this is what the Ravens want to be. They want to be a power rushing attack, and he's going to lead the way.
LaRon, bring the pain, McClain, not bringing the pain.
Yeah, bring the bench, McCain.
Okay, Michael Turner. This is a tough one. Jamey, he's coming off a bye. He should be fresh, but against the Eagles defense, they used to be strong. They're kind of faltering now.
They are faltering a little bit, Lauren, but you talk about what Michael Turner faces. Every time he's faced a tough run defense, he struggled. The Eagles only allowing 91 rushing yards per game. They have struggled their last 2 games, but they're at home. They're coming off a bye. Turner on the road. I just think this is an opportunity for the Eagles to sort of say, you know it with the NFC East. It's still a little bit wide open. Giants have showed some flaws with the Browns game. Dallas is obviously struggling. We've seen Washington hit or miss a little bit the last couple of weeks with the Rams game and then struggling to get by the Browns. So the Eagles are going to really try and establish themselves with a defensive pressure like they did to start the season. And I think you see Turner sort of struggle here. Another running back that I just want to get to is Willie Parker. Coming back from the knee injury, I think you want to sit Willie Parker this week because Jarris Wilkinson. Wilkinson who? Wilkinson comes back into this game.
I knew that was coming.
Along with Antonio Pierce, and I think you'll see that the Steelers' run game will struggle a little bit on the ground.
Okay, let's talk about your starting wide receiver. You know, you talk a lot about last week. We talked about Drew Brees. He's playing well. Colston and Shockey are back. Is that not going to be the case? Because it wasn't the case last week, or will they turn it around and play well?
Lauren, Drew Brees, he used to play at San Diego, and they're facing the Chargers this week. So that's extra motivation for Brees, extra motivation for Colston.
Even though it's overseas.
Even though it's overseas, doesn't matter where it is. It just matters that the team on the other side has that lightning bolt. And I think you'll see Brees want to put on a show. He talked about it. You know, it's good to see him be candid and say, I want to come out and throw. Also, no Reggie Bush. So that means that Brees is going to have to carry the team on his shoulders. And I think you'll see Colston get back into form. You know, I think that he shook off the rust a little bit. He was tremendously disappointed in his performance. He knows he has to do a better job. Shockey's going to be in there as well. So look for Brees and the entire passing game. I wouldn't start Henderson and David Patton, even Lance Moore in this matchup, but I think you look at what Colston has in store, he's a good start receiver. You
know, you were talking about carrying the team. Calvin Johnson, Detroit's a bit of a mess, but he is an elite talent. Can you sit him?
I think you can. You know, last week, good production, but it was only on the strength of 2 passes. And you look at what Calvin Johnson has. I'm just not ready to trust Dan Orlovsky at this point. I think it's more of a situation where Calvin Johnson, facing a Washington defense that is going to be a little bit more aggressive than Houston. They have the cornerbacks to stay with Johnson. I think this is a situation where it's hard to sit Calvin Johnson, very similar to Eli Manning. Hard to sit these guys because of their lack of talent at the position and obviously what they can do when they put up big stats. Johnson now is all alone, no Roy Williams. Great game against the Texans, but I think you lower your expectations this week.
You're not ready to trust him.
Not ready yet.
Are you guys ready to trust us? Turn to Fantasy Football Today every Sunday, 11 o'clock with Jason Horwitz. They will do their best to help you with your fantasy lineup. As for Jamie, I'm Lauren Shehadi. I'll see you guys next time.